Hey, yay, hey, yay. We are all gathered here to discuss the big fish. Errol Spence Jr. Good morning. Errol Spence Jr. looks like he is returning. Tszyu just captured a win, picked up an injury. These are the things I will unearth, uncover, and ultimately unpack. Errol Spence Jr. Man down, strap season. Yes, definitely. I definitely do that. Mr. Man down, finna return. The world of boxing has been waiting. Let's get unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I am back with some more boxing. Errol Spence Jr. He has been on the sidelines ever since the Terrence Crawford fight, leaving fans wondering what is going on. Is he retired? Is he injured from the accident still? What's going on, right? And at this point, pretty valid question, because great record, 28-1, the sole loss to Crawford. But again, the Crawford fight was the summer of 2023, and we're entering the summer of 2026. So the man has been out of the ring for 3 years, pretty much, right? Because we're in April, but by the time he comes back, this date will have elapsed, right? So the world of boxing is like, what's good? You know, Errol Spence was a staple fighter where every so often when he was fighting, you know, you knew you would have that big fight. You know, it was kind of like Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence, Gervonta Tank Davis. Those were like PBC's heaviest hitters at the moment. And no disrespect to anybody else, because you still had Keith Thurman popping in, and you had Danny Garcia and other people, David Benavidez. But those were like the big three. It's just big meat. The big three. It's just big meat. Bum! Right? The big three. They were kind of the big three. Wilder, he just beat Chisora. I made a video about it for my full breakdown. What really happened? Wilder, Chisora. He defeated him, split decision. But for my technical breakdown and full thoughts, make sure you click on that video. Gervonta Davis kind of hasn't fought since the Lamont Roach fight, dealing with some legal stuff. And then, boom, Errol Spence. He's been inactive since his first and only loss to Terrence Crawford about 3 years ago. Now, there's been rumors circulating that Errol was going to come back, and his comeback fight would be Tszyu. So when Tszyu just fought yesterday in Australia, hometown fight against this Dennis guy, we're paying attention because he had to get past, because he lost to Fundora and he lost to Murtazaev and he beat Joey Spencer, right? So in order, if you want to have a super fight, you kind of have to win. You know, you've seen with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, it looked like there was kind of a silent pack that they were going to fight in a rematch, and then Ryan loses to Rolly. So sometimes when there's, you got to also look, these fighters are demanding more money these days. So at the end of the day, people have to put up the money. There's not that many stars in boxing, and I'm talking about Mayweather, Pacquiao level star. Well, there is no Mayweather, Pacquiao level stars right now, right? The closest would be Canelo and Tank, right? But in general, people aren't really branding themselves. Some people aren't really making themselves likable, things like that. So you don't have too many stars right now in boxing. So who wants to shell out that type of cash and make it rain for a fight where there's no ROI? So this was a must-win scenario for Tszyu, which he did win. However, he got a nasty cut, I believe, under his left eye. Rest in peace to left eye. No Andre Rison. So he got a cut. It looked like the Nelly patch. Day? Wait a minute now. Uh-oh. Bro, it looked like Nelly with the Band-Aid. You got a dilemma. You see what I just did? Nelly, dilemma, Kelly Rowe. Never mind. So he got the Nelly Band-Aid from a headbutt. It wasn't from a punch. And post-fight, this is what Tszyu said, because the world knows and the rumors were swirling that Errol could be next if he won, which he did. This is what he had to say.
Do you think that you're ready for Errol Spence?
Look, I feel like I'm up for it, man. I feel like I'm up for it. This guy was tough, you know, no excuses. But I think me and Errol Spence are going to be one hell of a fight, you know. It's a banger. You know how I am. I don't go take a backward step. So if he wants to meet me at the front, bring it on.
If he want to meet me at the front, bring it on. Okay, Tszyu. Okay.
We are live into the US as well. Do you have a message for Errol Spence and his team?
You know what they say, catch the big fish. Let's go fishing.
Yeah.
So he said he about to go fishing and he want to catch the big fish, and he started doing the pantomime like he was reeling them in. So you just heard right then and there, Tszyu about that life. Famous father who boxed, and he didn't turn down no fades. And now Tszyu wanted to smoke with Errol. Let's go. Now, post-fight, he was wearing sunglasses because he had the cut. So he was looking like your boy Ego. You feel me? Yeah. I started the glasses, like the glasses indoor. I've been doing this from the beginning. Often imitated but never duplicated. I made certain things like this cool. Wearing the glasses, like I did the glasses from jump. From if you go watch my old videos, right? Your boy Ego did the glasses. Now everybody want to wear glasses and hats and beanies. They're like, come on, bro. I'm a trendsetter in this game. But anywho, Tszyu, he's wearing the glasses, and he kind of took a jab at Errol Spence at the post-fight presser.
Whatever, man. At least I'm fighting.
That was because Errol Spence, got at him. Actually, let me show you, before we get into it, let me show you what Errol had to say. I think that, so you know what he's responding to. Boom. So, the call out that I just played for you, PBC wrote, a word from Tszyu to Errol Spence. You know what they say. Catch the big fish, let's go fishing. To which Errol Spence said, you think it's sweet. I'ma do you so bad. So Errol Spence, he sounded like he ain't missed a step. He said, I'ma do you bad. You think it's sweet over here, So the reporters gonna be messy. Errol Spence just tweeted, and then they ran back and told Tszyu that Errol had put out that tweet, because he don't know. He just got out the ring for a fight. He ain't on Twitter. You know what I mean? He doing the medicals and peeing in the cup, spending time with his family, because he just got out the thing with a fight. So it's the media running back and like instigating, like, oh, Errol said this. But anyway, this is what Tszyu had to say.
Bring it on.
Well, we are live into the US as well. Do you have a message for Errol Spence and his team?
You know what they say, catch the big fish. Let's go fishing.
Yeah, look, whatever, man. At least I'm fighting and keeping myself active. The guy's been on the couch for 3-4 years. Can't talk. Last time he fought, he got smashed. So I can't wait to take on that challenge. It's a very intriguing fight for myself.
He said, at least I am fighting and active. Errol, on the other hand, he been on the shelf. He been on the couch and he talking from the sideline. And then the last time he did fight Crawford, he got smashed. Okay, Tszyu.
I hope he's there to fight, not to score.
Hey, let's see my face.
And then he said, I hope he's there to fight. I don't want him to just come in there and survive. Now, there is one big problem. I don't know exactly the date for this purported fight. I don't know what date that they're going with for sure. But my sources said they were trying to do the fight in Australia. Like maybe that market makes more sense than Texas. So that part, it hasn't been officially announced. So maybe it's subject to change. I don't know. But my information was Australia. They're talking about it. Errol's already been a road warrior when he fought Kell Brook. So, you know, Tszyu, famous father. So he got the surname. He's been more active, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen in Australia, but don't quote me on that. The problem that I see is Tszyu, for a relatively like kind of shorter career at the top, like meaning like it's not like Floyd Mayweather where he had been in the game 20 plus years, or like Pacquiao been in the game that long, blah, blah, blah. And he keep getting injured, right? When he fought Fundora in the first fight, he had that nasty gash on top of his head, right? And it was trickling blood all into his eye. And he ended up losing that fight, ultimately, and losing his title to Fundora. But that cut was pretty nasty in his scalp. And then he rematched Fundora and did worse and actually got stopped by Fundora, who looks to be improving, all right? So that was one injury. You also had 2 Fundora losses, one by stoppage where you were badly hurt, and then you also had the Murtazaev where that was a nasty, bad loss. And you're 31 years old, but you've had really in a small space of time, because boxing, Floyd always told you, Floyd Mayweather, the least punishment you take, the longer you last in the sport, right? And I feel like for Tszyu, his punishment that he has taken has been very congested and very like centralized and localized to really the last few years, right? Yeah, he got dropped by Terrell Goucher, but he got up and he won that fight, you know? He beat Brian Mendoza, kind of a tough fight, but he won. He knocked out Ocampo, knocked out Tony Harrison. Those ones weren't that bad, right? But I'm talking Murtazaev, both of the Fundora joints, right? Those fights were putting some mileage on Tszyu. And then, like I said, you got stopped twice in those 3 losses. And then now you have your second injury. And when I say the man was cut, you got to believe me. That is the cut. All in the cut. You see that? So I get it was from a headbutt. It's not like you got punched and then split your cheek open. But to be fighting Errol Spence, he's not a headhunter. We know Errol Spence has an amazing body attack. But in general, that don't look good. You know what I mean? The fact that you keep getting injured in your fights, one way or another, all these cuts. You got to understand boxing. And when you get cut and then you get it heals, then you get another cut. All these cuts wear on your skin. You know what I mean? You're tearing skin, right? So even if you put the little glue in or get it stitched up, it's not necessarily going to be as protected as it was prior to you never getting cut. You know what I mean? Like when people get like broken legs or whatever, break bones. How many of the people break bones, tear their meniscus, things like that, and then even with surgery, how many people their leg operates better now that they blew their knee out? You know what I mean? Even if you can have the best doctors in the world and that kind of thing. And I know for a fact because my dad tore his Achilles. You know, my dad's a savage, so he tore his Achilles, and I remember what that process was like on the road to recovery. So I've seen it firsthand, the healing process for these vicious type of injuries, you know, or people who get in car wrecks and then their back gives them problems. Usually it don't. I hate to say it, but it usually don't just get better and go away. So I am concerned with like potential scar tissue, right? You look at guys like Gabe Rosado, another warrior, but he had a lot of scar tissue. So he fight Lemieux, and then his eye, I believe he had a detached retina in that. You start seeing more and more of these injuries. However, for Tszyu, he is a warrior. He does have heart, and he's not going to just like pack it in. You're going to have to do away with him. And I guess, you know, in terms of being fair, in terms of the commentary, for me, the thing is, Errol has some wear and tear too. And I guess some of it was the Crawford fight, but the big wear and tear for me and the big asterisk is what you endured in that car wreck. Because more than like, I mean, we're talking man versus machine. Like, would you rather get hit by Bud Crawford or flew out of a car, ejected onto asphalt, you know, at high rates of speed, 150, 110 mile, whatever he was going? You know what I mean? The choice is obvious. Ain't nobody want to go through that. So Errol has questions as well. It's just kind of for a different reason. Most people believe that accident maybe took some years off of his fight career or compromised him. I mean, for real, when he fought Crawford, he didn't look like the Errol that fought Kell Brook. I don't care what the Bud Buddies say. I'm telling you my opinion. Oh man, Ego, you're making excuses. You can say whatever you want, but I studied these careers, and that did not look like the Errol Spence. And I know Crawford is a brilliant fighter. He's a great fighter, but it just didn't look like it. And here's the thing. Errol looked compromised before he even got punched. That's the issue. Like, it'd be one thing if, like, literally he was walking out to the ring and there was people in real time on Twitter posting that Errol looked like he's chiefing, like he's under the influence, like he inebriated or high. That's what people were saying before Crawford even landed one punch. So you could do whatever you want, but for me, I can't just give all of that to Crawford. It looked like something. Now I get it. This is who signed up. Errol said he would be ready. So if he struggled with the weight cut, if he was dehydrated, if he was sick, if he had a punctured lung from running up the mountain, whatever it was that went on, you can't blame Crawford. And I'm not blaming Crawford for it. But what I am saying is, like, I'm not going to omit what I've seen and act like it's one of the same. Same thing with you got Joshua versus Wilder. That would be like me acting like if they fight tomorrow, it's the same fight that it would have been years ago when Wilder had the green belt, the WBC, and Joshua had the other belts. Different fight. You know, I see a lot of people, because Wilder beat Chisora and AJ was there and they crossed paths and stuff. A lot of people are talking like, oh man, you know, this and this will happen. At this point, I don't even care. Like, at the end of the day, it's not the fight that we should have gotten as fans. We should have got that when they're in prime. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to omit the facts because it makes you insecure. Yes, Errol beat Ugas. Yes, he beat Danny Garcia even post-accident. But Crawford is insanely good, and each camp is different. You know, I just seen an interview from Breadman, and he was saying that Caleb Plant, his Resendez camp, was horrible. He was like, I'm not going to go into details, but it wasn't that good for different reasons. So, you know, it is what it is. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast. Crawford beat him. It's on his record. Errol been on the sideline ever since. I do like the fight, however. Errol Spence, Tszyu. Great fight. Let me take this off. Great fight, but dangerous fight because it's a crossroads fight. Anytime you have a crossroads fight, to me, somebody's career is potentially in peril should they lose, right? For Errol, you notice how objective my commentary is. I'm really boxing. If you like that, make sure you guys subscribe. I got to link me with all my links. There's a lot of content creators and they're glorified fanboys. They are man fans. They like certain fighters like, oh, Devin Haney, and then they dish on anybody else that's not that fighter, Devin Haney or whoever. I'm giving it to you straight. I'm giving it to you real. I like Errol Spence. I like Tszyu. I think it's a brilliant fight. For Errol Spence, I mean, it kind of goes without saying. You ain't fought in 3 years. Come back. If you were to lose, then, you know, you'll probably go back and be more reclusive. And then it's like, where do you go from that? And it'll be a new weight class. So there's some interesting variables because I would imagine they're going to fight at 154 to 160. That's what I would assume, right? So dangerous fight for Errol based on the inactivity. Also, and Errol, no matter what anyone says, that man is a real warrior because he fought Kell Brook on a 9-month layoff. He fought Crawford on like a 11-month or 1 year layoff, somewhere right around there. And then now he ain't fought in 3 years. And then he gonna fight Tszyu, a former champ, in a new weight class. I mean, if you don't respect that, you don't really respect boxing. Because when Jermall Charlo was absent for a couple years, he came back and fought Jose Benavidez and Cornflake. You know, he's fighting guys like that, which is really what you're supposed to do. So I'm not bagging on Jermall Charlo. You're supposed to do that. You know what I mean? But I guess Errol don't got that in him. He's going through car wrecks and then coming back and fighting Danny Garcia. He told you he Mr. No Tune-Ups. So you got to take him at his word. Even Terrence Crawford, before the Errol fight, he would have had like, if he just went straight into the Errol fight, he would have had a year plus layoff too. But he fought on BLK Prime. See, I tell you, my analysis on the game is elite. My memory, I don't forget. So Crawford was smart to fight a David Avocado before Errol just to go through a camp. And that's like a low risk fight for a guy like Crawford that he wasn't going to lose. Build your confidence with a crazy knockout and busted gloves. Then go into Errol fight instead of doing it off a long layoff, right? Meanwhile, Errol tried to, do too much and fight a guy like Crawford with no tune-up. Like, I don't need no tune-up. Man down. Like, no, it don't make sense, especially when Crawford got a tune-up. So, in my opinion, Errol made some egregious mistakes as the A side. He did the heavy lifting. He had the 3 belts. Crawford only had 1 belt from fighting Jeff Horn and a top rank type of resume with the top rank matches. He didn't have the premium names that Errol Spence, the Kell Brooks, the Danny Garcias, right? The Ugases, the Lamont Peterson. He didn't have those premium names, and he didn't have 3 belts. So Errol made a big mistake, and I told you guys about that, by giving Crawford the farm. Crawford wanted more money. He took money out of his purse to compensate to make sure the fight didn't fall through, right? He gave Crawford wanted a coin flip. He gave him a coin flip. Crawford wanted probably whatever split to make sure the fight happened. Errol's like working with him. Me, I'm different. Me knowing the business, I would have been like, kick rocks. I'm fighting Keith Thurman. But Errol, in his mind, he didn't like Keith Thurman. So he was holding a grudge against Keith Thurman. And I guess he'd rather break bread with somebody he respected, maybe, like Crawford, more so than Keith Thurman. But the Keith Thurman fight was easier to facilitate. You could argue your case for A side. Keith Thurman probably would have been more realistic, probably wouldn't need coin flips, probably would have fought you in Texas. Terrence Crawford had a list of things he wouldn't do, like fight in Texas. He wanted somewhere more neutral. I would negate if PBC wanted to fight in Texas and we got the star, it's in Texas. We fight at AT&T Stadium. Pacquiao was finna do it. Why? Pacquiao a way bigger star than Bud Crawford. So Pacquiao, I was there at the Mikey Garcia fight in the AT&T Stadium ringside, and they had faced Pacquiao and Errol Spence off. So Pacquiao was definitely down to fight Errol Spence. He didn't care where it was, stuff like that. Why would Crawford? So it is what it is. Crawford made a mistake, or Errol made a mistake there by giving away too much, and then Crawford took full advantage, had to tune up with David Avocado, and the rest is history. So Errol is very stubborn, and he's not taking tune-ups, which you probably should, but I guess he don't want to waste time with tune-ups. I'll be interested to hear also who Errol's full-time trainer is. He's no longer with Derek James. They were suing each other. I haven't really looked in to see what the update is, but I do like the Tszyu fight. Dangerous fight for both guys for different reasons. Really a crossroads fight in boxing, and Tszyu clearly has more fights at 154, clearly has the activity advantage, but Errol's a body snatcher. I think he's more technical, better jab, and some of the shots, like Tszyu, he was bragging in the post-fight interview, and he was saying like, oh, I hope you don't run and try to survive. I don't take a step back. Sometimes you should take a step back, like in the Murtazaev fight or the Fundora fight. So I get it. You want to be a warrior. You want to put on for your people and Australians and stuff like that. But I think Tszyu, one of his shortcomings, leaky defense, and you want to do your father's name proud, the surname, so you're always trying to give those fan-friendly fights, but them fan-friendly fights finna get you cooked with certain guys, you know what I mean? And Errol might be one of them, right? Like Chris Tucker said, the Beach Boys gonna get you a great ad whooping, boy. You could do that in Australia, you know what I mean? So I don't care about that. You never hear me like overly professing. Like I get it to a degree. If you're like super boring, yeah, you got to find ways to entertain a little bit better. But you don't want to go too far with that. And just like Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios was fun to watch, but then his career is short. You know what I mean? Versus Bernard Hopkins, Marquez, Floyd Mayweather. They're able to keep fighting on well into their 40s or 50s because they got this. So you don't want to shorten your career. It's already short. Boxing is a young man's game. There's going to be someone that comes up that when you're 40 or 50 and in their 20, the odds are stacked against you. So you got to cash in during that window, whatever your window is. But anyway, enough of that. Errol Spence, Tszyu looks like it will be happening. It'll be great to see Errol Spence back in the ring. I'm also a fan of Tszyu. He is a warrior. He does come to fight. He's built up a nice resume, whether he won or lost. And it's a dangerous fight, crossroads fight for both guys. That's the Unpacked of it. We really need to see where Errol Spence is at, and we need to see what Tszyu can endure, because Errol Spence, when he gets in that mode, you've seen after Ugas knocked his mouthpiece out, Errol put pedal to the metal and start